In a second, I'm going to show you a video on what mathematicians call the wrapping function. They call it the wrapping function because I want you to visualize this. I want you to visualize a circle, okay? And pretend that the circle has radius of 1 and there's a string that's been attached to it, like this. Sorry about that, okay? So here's what you have, and what we're going to do in the video is we're actually going to wrap the string. You see that? Wrap the string around the circle. Okay? Now, silly prop, but you get the idea. What I want you to keep in mind is this is the first video in a sequence of many, and the consequences of the wrapping function are quite far-reaching. I don't think it's a difficult concept, but I think it's difficult to miss things. So pay attention to it, go through the videos step by step, and listen carefully to what's said on the video as it's going through, and make sure as you proceed you do all the example problems and you understand what's being said. Enjoy. This is to be the first in a series of videos on the wrapping function, which is a prelude to functions like sine, cosine, and tangent. So here's what we're going to start with. I first want to call your attention to this circle right here. And if you notice, this circle has a radius of 1, and the first important thing that we need to note is that since the radius is 1, the distance around this circle would be 2 pi. And that's because the circumference of a circle, we know from childhood math, is 2 times pi times the radius squared. I'm sorry, 2 times pi times the radius, not squared. Which means the distance around this circle is 2 pi. Or roughly, pi is 3.14, 2 pi would be roughly 6.28. So what I've done is I've made this line right here, and I want you to think of this line as a string that's attached to the circle at this point and has been pulled tight up to here. So 2 pi would be, a little bit more than 6 1/4, which you can see it is. So now what I'm about to do is I'm about to take this string and wrap it around the circle. Now if all's come out right, what should happen is this point, since it's 2 pi units long from here, should end up landing right there. And I want to discuss the wrapping function as we go. So here it is. String's wrapping around. Now notice, pi over 2 lands right at the top of the circle. And I define w of pi over 2 to be the point at which it lands. This is going to be at which it lands. This is going to be important later. In other words, let me back up. Okay. Now watch pi over 2. As I wrap the string around, pi over 2 is going to fall right there. And that's what I want to define. That's how I want to define the wrapping point. So here we go, wrapping it around. That lands right there, so I say that w of pi over 2 is 0, 1. Keep going, and pi lands right there, which would make w of pi, the wrapping function evaluated at pi, I want that to be negative 1, 0. Continuing on, this would be 3 pi over 2, and just as it should, 2 pi lands back at the origin, so we've made one complete revolution. And you can see as I unwrap it and bring the string right back to normal.